Hello, hello. You don't have to tie up your hair, don't worry. I won't judge you.
It's hot, like it makes the back of my neck sweat.
Well, it
So
might be appealing to the audience. You never know.
maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It makes look, it's all a mess. I need to wash it. It smells good though.
That's the main point. I don't like
Yeah.
smelly people.
Well, yeah, nobody does, right? Nobody does. Anyway, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Been just crazy busy actually,
That's good. That's good.
especially with all the social media things which is going on.
It's always good to stay productive, make things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You did say you're not on LinkedIn, are you?
No, I had one, then I got rid of it because, it was the corporate world and I was trying to like get away from it.
Maybe you should just open one and connect to me, and then you can see what I'm up to on there.
You know what? Like when you mentioned it last time, I thought about it. Like maybe I'm kind of shorting myself from a
Yeah,
specific audience by not having one. But I mean, the same could be said for TikTok. I don't have one like that I'm
yeah.
using, Snapchat. So eventually, maybe I'll get back into it. But for now, like, I'm all right.
Okay, well, as long as you're happy, that's the main point. But ladies and gentlemen, may I just introduce you to someone who's very like-minded like me, another life coach, or would you like to call yourself mind coach like myself? I don't know how you call yourself.
Yeah, that'll work.
I
Yeah,
prefer
yeah.
I prefer mind coach just because I think there's so many life coaches out there. I think we spoke about that on last time. That mind coach just seems to be more appropriate towards the mind. A life coach is mainly catered about a lot of people about business and fitness, just exclusively on certain things. Where mind coach just brings it a bit more personal. So your name is Roberto. What's your full name?
Roberto Carrias.
That's wonderful. And you have a company called Dream Evolve Thrive. Is that right?
Mhm. That is correct.
And you offer coaching to people.
I do. I do. It's all based in the foundations of hypnotherapy. So
Yeah.
I'm looking to get people to, have dreams about evolving and thriving their lives. And it's, all done with the soul, the mind, the body connection. So yeah, that's
Which
it.
is very beautiful. I think that's one of the things which connected us mutually in that way. That a lot of things are very spiritually based. And although maybe the client doesn't believe in that, but as long as we believe in that and we actually project this power, this energy, I think people do pick up on these things.
Hmm. I agree. And, we all believe in our different, views on the world and how
Yeah.
things are. But it's about having that real internal belief in yourself and the way you view the world and not having to have other people validate your beliefs. If you believe in yourself to the fullest, like you said, other people are going to pick up on that and they don't have to follow you per se, but they would then maybe be inspired to have a little more confidence to fully believe in themselves.
Absolutely. And it's about what I felt. It's about, being comfortable within yourself. As you said, you don't need any validation from anyone. I mean, for me, for instance, a lot of people call me, especially, on my fan base, oh, you're beautiful, you've got beautiful eyes and all these kind of things, which is nice to hear. But I don't get kind of struck by these things. So some people need these kind of validations for themselves to feel good. But I take it as it is. It's a nice compliment. Who doesn't want to have compliments as such? But it's not something which becomes a need because I do know, you know, I do know I'm aware of these things, and that's the main part, which is very important, being aware of yourself, of who you are as a person, and believe in yourself, be strong within your belief systems, and just open up to the world and be comfortable with your stories, with your experiences, with what you want to do, with your messages and so on. Would you agree with that?
100%, absolutely. Like the self-belief is something that, without it, who are we? Like, if you don't believe in yourself, what do you believe in? Like, do you believe in somebody else? Do you believe in a higher power? But even then, it all still comes back to us. Even though we're here in this planet with 7+ billion people, we're still individuals. Everybody's an individual, and you have to develop that from inside out, right? And the whole validation seeking, I was doing that before. I was trying to get people to look at me and tell me that I'm pretty and stuff like that, and it's, you're not for everybody. So in the instances where I was looking for some sort of validation from somebody in any sort of aspect and I wasn't receiving it, that would make me feel less about myself.
Yeah.
So I was able to flip my mindset and realize, hey, if I'm able to validate myself through my daily actions and my daily practices, then I don't necessarily have to be depending on somebody else's validation. Like, I do it to myself. And then I believe in myself. I'm like, okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. So I
That's
totally
right.
agree with you.
That's right. And that's the way you evolve within yourself, A lot of people, I think you mentioned that just now, if you don't believe in yourself, what do you believe in? But let's be honest, most people do live in this world of chaos where they have often, I wouldn't say no idea. They may know that they need to, but they don't know how, most probably, because of their insecurities. It could also be because they haven't actually introspectively criticized themselves or addressed themselves of who they really are. It's discovering your own mind. It's discovering your own soul. It's discovering your own being as such. And if you don't get deep enough inside and focus on all these surface things outside, then you will certainly look for some validation, which comes from outside, which is not internally made. And that's a bit sad sometimes. I mean, that's where we come in with our jobs, and therapists as well, where we would look or try to make the person understand that you cannot, or you may be able to seek validation on a temporary basis, but how long does it last? It's like taking a drug or taking a painkiller. It only has a certain limit of time which makes you feel good or makes you feel better. What are you going to do when it's wearing off? So you're seeking more validation. You're seeking maybe greater validation, because one is not enough, and you want more and more, and maybe this one is not satisfying you. And that's when you get into this chaos, in this state of chaos, where a lot of people unfortunately are, because they don't know how to act any different, because they don't understand themselves.
Right. It makes sense to the analogy with the addiction to substances, right? When you get the extreme high, it's cool, but then you get low, and you're always chasing that continual feeling of trying to get higher and higher. And I never put the correlation together with the validation also, but it's true. Like, you're always looking for either more validation from a certain individual, or you're looking for different individuals to continually validate you.
That's right.
And it doesn't do you any good personally, because you are dependent on somebody else's opinion of you, when in reality, we can't control what people think. Like, what do that's having an expectation of something that is out of your control, which could potentially put you in a lower vibration, lower frequency. And then you're kind of left like, damn it, I need more. I need to go find something else. So, flipping it inside, looking internally, it's the only way to go to be able to maintain that high level of self-love, and you don't put it in anybody else's hands. And, to think about it too, in a way where us as humans, we need to accept our mortality. If you are depending on somebody else for your validation, and you guys maybe have a codependent relationship, or even a healthy interdependent relationship that requires somebody else's validation, the time will come, because we are mortals, that somebody might potentially not be here anymore. They might die.
Yeah.
And that's something that's out of your control. If it happens unexpectedly, you just never know. And it's a very extreme way of looking at it, but it's also something realistic that we have to kind of address as people, and come to accept that at the end of the day, we're kind of left to our own thoughts and our own actions to validate ourselves in the event of the worst case scenario.
I mean, the worst case scenario might be a bit extreme because not everyone has to go through that. But what people do go through is a lot of changes which happen. You know, this is a form of mortality as well. If somebody actually mentally comes away from you and does not love you, for instance, normal, it's a form of mortality as well, because you know your relationship has died, and you have to kind of find your own way. And a lot of people do depend on these emotional things which they may felt or may needed from the other partner, from within the relationship. And if they can't get it, they try to force it. You know, try to put it on someone or on that same partner to get it back. But what we don't often understand is that in that process, a lot of people then actually lose themselves. They don't actually know who they are no more. Losing your self-identity is a big crisis these days, especially in this modern world where everyone is seeking a purpose, wherever it's money, wherever it's their career, wherever it's having, I don't know, the best relationship, or wherever having fame, whatever that might be, that agenda. But they don't actually understand that within being yourself, within establishing yourself, a lot of things just happen automatically. They just come into place. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're chasing someone or something for a reason which you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't make it your main purpose of life. That is the main point.
Yeah, instead of chasing other people, chasing scenarios, chasing the money, chasing the accolades, I've learned for myself, what works the best is to chase the internal feeling that I have going through my daily process, right? The process, because this shrinks down your timeline. Instead of looking at a goal that it'll take you 4 years to accomplish, maybe 6 years, depending what it might be. That's a long time. There's a lot of different variables, a lot of different situations that can happen in the meantime. And any one of those situations might derail your path. And if people get derailed, then the chaos ensues. They lose sight of the vision and they give up ultimately and just throw in the towel. I was guilty of that before. I always wanted certain things to happen for me and they weren't progressing the way I expected. And I threw in the towel on a lot of things, especially myself, taking care of my physical body, trying to achieve my dreams. When it got too hard, I would make excuses and I would uncommit from the actions. So having that long view is good to see it as a focal point. But if you could shrink down your expectations and put them on yourself daily, so you validate yourself every day, and then you start stacking days into weeks, and then next thing you know, weeks become months, and then they become years, you'll look back one day and be like, oh man, I made it to where I wanted to be 6 months ago. How did this happen? And it's a daily process, daily going through it all the time. And the more you shrink down your perspective and your process, the easier it is to go through it. Because no matter what, the sun will come up and that guy will go back down. So you just kind of repeat it on a daily basis and don't lose sight of the moment. It's a mindset change, right? It's a shift that you have to make inside your head to have that perspective change. And it doesn't happen overnight, obviously.
No,
right?
No. It's a gradual improvement, as you said. Mm-hmm. And, it takes time. And some people put it in a different way where they say, take baby steps rather than making this big steps, which is exactly the same interpretation what you've just explained as such. But you said it rightfully as such, that if we live in the here and now, that's not to say that we forget about tomorrow. That's just to say that we're actually putting our main focus in the here and now, in the present. And instead of living in the past or living in the future or living somewhere else in chaos, when we're completely putting our mindset within what we have, what we're going through right now, what we want to do, and everything becomes a lot more achievable. We can then draw from our past experiences and see what we've learned from that, and then integrate that within our present, whatever we're experiencing right now, and make it better. And that's where we're building up the foundation for our future as well, automatically, without actually having to think about it, how beautiful that is. But a lot of people do struggle with these things because, as you said, their focus is just everywhere, rather than actually eliminating everything else, not worrying about other things, because a lot of things we can't change, or we can't manipulate, or we can't control. So why not control what we can control?
Exactly. It's our actions in the now that we can control. That's it. Like, and to your point, worrying about the past with depression, right? That's in the past. You can't control it. It already happened. The future's not here yet. And you can't do anything about it because it's not here. So just in this moment, and it's difficult, right? I
Yeah,
wasn't thinking like this at
yeah,
one point. I was worried about what are people going to think about me in the future? But it's, again, a mindset change. And the easiest thing for me that's worked to be able to focus on the now is moving around, like just little movement, getting up and, getting up out of your chair and walking around for a little bit. Putting your body into a physical state of motion where you could generate a different type of energy about yourself, and I know for some people also too, meditation and being utterly still does the same effect where you're not in the past and you're not in the future. And also moving around, it does the same thing that meditation does, because you're in that state of not worrying about what happened or what will happen. And it generates more of that being in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you're aligned. Your mind, body, and soul are
yeah.
all working in conjunction with each other. And then when you have that synchronicity going on, your vibe just automatically increases, and it becomes contagious. Once you start feeling that
Yeah.
way and you do it more and more, it almost becomes like
Addiction.
and it's an addiction. Yeah, I didn't want to say drug or something like that, but it becomes something
A
that,
good addiction.
yeah, it is. It's a healthy addiction. It's a healthy addiction.
That's right. That's right. I mean, at the same point, movement is very important, but also to bring your senses to your main well-being, to your main body. That's very important, and that can be achieved often with breathing techniques, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is one of those things, but meditation might not be for everybody or everybody's cup of tea. So there's various methods which people can use, and sometimes breathing techniques can be quite universal because anyone is able to do these things. Unless you suffer with any kind of condition such as ADHD, something which is difficult to control your breathing. To sit still, for instance. You can usually use these techniques in a various ways, and you can do it anywhere. You could be in a school as a student, and you have a little panic attack, and you have overthinking, overwhelming thoughts, and you could start doing a breathing technique just quietly without anybody noticing, and it starts bringing all your senses down. It joins all your senses together, and instead of having all these different thoughts, you're actually starting to just focus on your breathing, on your lungs, on your breathing, on your mind. And after a few minutes, you may just realize, oh, I'm actually not thinking about that normal. So it's a very powerful tool, which I also, try to implement with a lot of clients, especially when they're suffering with a lot of stress and anxiety and
Yes.
all form of overthinking, overthoughts, worrying about things which are maybe not necessary. Because often things like don't worry about that, or just things, what makes you worry about that? These questions often don't help. So if you distract their focus on something else, especially about breathing, they find it a joke at first, but once they start doing it, it changes their mind.
It does. And it helps them in the moment too, because it
Yeah,
gets their mind, it focuses on something that is neither in the past, in the future, nothing
yeah,
that's quote unquote negative or positive. It's that base human line function that we all need to do. If we don't breathe, we can't be alive. So we go back to focus, like just the most pinpointed focus on the moment. And that's breathing. You can even take it a step further and trying to count your heartbeats.
yeah,
It's the same thing. Like I was taught a tapping technique called
yeah,
EFT through hypnotherapy, where you tap yourself and you hit these different meridians on the body that help you calm down.
Yeah.
And I realized that it's the tapping itself, it does help, but it's more of the concentration and the focus that you use when you tap on your body. Like you're in the process of being very, very cognizant and aware of where you're tapping and the different places you are tapping. And that eliminates the futuristic thoughts, the past thoughts, and it brings you almost, you know, in a sly way into the moment without realizing, oh man, I'm in the moment. And it helps also too, it calms down. It'll take those levels of, you know, if you're at a level 8 out of 10 of feeling not so relaxed, not so calm, it helps. It helps you become more relaxed, right? You breathe through it at the same time because we all need to breathe. So if you combine those two things, it's almost like double dipping.
That's
and
right.
You're able to get into that alignment
That's
pretty
right.
regularly.
That's right. And it comes back to the, you know, refocusing or bringing your focus back to your own self, to your own body. Because what it is in human nature, generally, our brain can't comprehend too many information altogether. So if we limit these senses and bring them back to the main focus, no matter wherever you're using the tapping technique, it's exactly the same process. Or you're using breathing techniques, or you're using meditation, you're using yoga, you're using any form of these things, which involves a lot of breathing, you know, putting your focus back onto the main thing. That's when your brain actually cannot possibly keep thinking about all these unnecessary things. And that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the shift. And if you do it often enough, it has to be repetitive. It can't be just one off. It doesn't work like this.
Right.
Over time, you actually forget how well you're progressing. And that's the good thing about that. You're actually not consciously thinking about, I have to do that now. I have to now tap, or I have to do a breathing technique method, or I have to do the yoga. It just becomes natural. And suddenly there will be a light bulb within your mind, which just realizes these things and recognizes these things. As you said, you know, taking little steps, and after six months, you just realize, oh, I did accomplish a lot of things which I wouldn't have noticed. And that's exactly with these different methods. While using that you suddenly become aware of that when it actually happening to change, when it changes you, and you then feel pleasure of that. You want to continue with these things because they're not a chore normal. They're something which you really enjoy.
And that feeling of pleasure too, and the actual enjoyment of it, it builds confidence. It builds confidence in the fact that you can accomplish what you actually set out to accomplish. And once you get a little taste of that confidence, as you start building on top of it, that also becomes a healthy addiction. You don't want to let that go. Once you know something, why would you want to unknow it? Or why would you even go against your best self and downgrade? You know, nobody wants to downgrade. If anybody tells you that, it's a lie. Nobody. We all want to improve naturally, right? The natural evolution of a human being, mind, body, and soul, is to evolve. So we're always making this progression, and it's never linear. You know, it's always a little bit of an up and down process. But once you get a little taste of what time and a little bit of effort will give you, you just build on that confidence and let it keep riding and riding and riding until you get to the point where your cup is overflowing, and then you could possibly go out there and give it out to the world.
That's right. That's right. And you just pointed out one thing, that nothing is stable. It can go up and down. And that's another thing which I'm sure you do that in your work as well, that you actually make the client aware that it's okay to have these setbacks. They're part of your life, you know, even though they're progressing maybe in their different methods of breathing techniques or tapping techniques, whatever they're doing. But they need to be faced, or that person needs to be faced, confronted with these things, that there will be setbacks, but do not worry about them because they will happen. They will be part of your life, but it's how you manage them, how you feel about them at that time. Even if you're feeling down, it's still okay at that time. Allow yourself to be. And another point which then comes in is kindness, self-kindness. being self-aware includes self-kindness, positive psychology, where you include all these elements of sadness, sorrow, panic, anxiety, and let them be for that moment, rather than wanting to eliminate them or suppress them. Because once you suppress these things, then often they come back with a higher force, with a stronger force. And if you let them happen, but are aware of these things, then you could progress.
Definitely. Like the setbacks, in my view, are the opportunity to level up, right? When you go backwards, it's the 2-step forward, 1-step back. The 2-step forwards are good to progress, but the 1-step back also, if you reframe the way you look at it, that step backwards is for you to reflect how far along the path you've come. Am I doing the right things? If this is a setback, why was it a setback? Let me reassess what it is that I'm doing. And at that point where you think, oh, everything's going extremely well, and I hit the roadblock, I've in the past thrown in the towel at that point. Oh, it's not going to work. I can't do it, whatever. But that moment is when you actually develop the internal strength, right? The mettle to be able to, I'm going to persevere out of this. I'm going to endure this setback. I'm focused on my purpose. I'm focused on my goals. They're not going to happen right away. And I'm going to continue moving forward. And then it's just a small progression, right? Like you said, little baby steps all the way to the end. You don't have to try to run a sprint in a marathon. So whenever those setbacks occur, it's always good. That is the opportunity to level up. You can't get ahead by living in that state of perpetual comfort. When you are uncomfortable and you're outside of the comfort zone, that is the ideal time to evaluate and move on to the next step. But getting into that comfort zone and thinking, oh, I made it, I'm where I want to be, that's not going to get you where you want to go. You can't be stagnant. You either have to be progressing, and if you're not, you're regressing.
That's right.
So it's always focused on the future and the goals, and in that moment, just knowing that it's not the end of the world. Just keep it going. It'll be okay.
That's right. And if you go back to physics and mathematics, if you just have a high all the time, you can't actually compare it to any success in any way, because there wouldn't be nothing to compare with. So having a setback, as you said, having a negative time, having a general something which you associate to a negative thing, it actually gives you a comparison to your achievements, and that's so important. It's so crucial to know, because if we're just progressing in one way, how would we know how well we've progressed? We don't know, because it wouldn't have no value.
Exactly.
If you look at a lot of people who are extremely wealthy, I've worked with some really, really highly wealthy people. They have actually lost, because they have everything. They have access to everything. I'm talking about literally everything you could dream of, wherever it's the dream location, the dream holiday, the dream home, the dream business, whatever you could think of. Because they have achieved everything, they have access to everything, they lose the joy. So where's the progression for them? Where's the joy? Where's the success for them? Yes, they may have a lot of funds available, free funds available, but if that excitement is not there no more, wanting to progress, wanting to go further, then all these things are meaningless, because they are not associated with any achievements, they're not associated with any involvement, they're not associated with any success. They don't mean anything.
It's true. It's in that joy, right? That joy is what you can't buy. You can't find it around the corner. You have to develop it internally. And if you're a joyful person, it doesn't matter your level of success in your career or wherever you might reside in the world, you can be joyful and have gratitude anywhere at any time, but it comes from within. You have to be able to appreciate your opportunities, and it's not necessarily in the career. They will bring you, financial freedom in a sense. They'll give you stability. We have to make our way in the world. That's understandable. But once you have all that, you're right. What do you do if you're not happy? Like, how do you go about your day if you don't necessarily enjoy the things you're doing?
Yeah,
And the joy is discovered within, and it's discovered in the daily process that you live. How do you
yeah,
live your day on a regular basis?
that's right.
This past year taught us a lot, right? We were stripped of our day-to-day abilities to be able to go out into the world. So at that time, it's like, how do we maintain this high level of vibration and joy? It's by doing the things that we are in control of, which is physical movement, your daily process, whatever it is. We all have to wake up. You could just wake up and take a walk, do a couple exercises on the floor. The floor is available to you anywhere. Do some sit-ups, do some
That's
squats, do a
right.
couple of burpees. That would give you that constant state of, you know what, this is okay. I am still alive. I'm still present. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what else is going on outside.
I mean, one of the things which I also do is, and I try to implement that to my clients, and in my posts, I put it all the time as well. We we feel how we actually care for ourselves. That's another point I wanted to highlight as such. Self-care is so important. So it's also about physical movement, but also about your appearance. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. The only thing I'm saying is that why make yourself look rugged? And yes, you may have some days like this, but especially going through these restrictions such as lockdown, you wouldn't believe how much difference it actually can make in a person's mind, in emotionally, internally. If you just dress well, you go have your shower, you dress well, you make yourself look nice for yourself, for nobody else, but for yourself. It just creates a joy within yourself. And that's not a validation which comes from outside sources. It's something which you actually create, which you create. It's like standing in front of the mirror. It's another technique which I give to my clients, and telling yourself how good you look, for instance. Give yourself a smile, because all these mirror neurons which we're seeing, which we're projecting, we're actually absorbing them.
Yes.
It's positive energy, and that's what makes us feel good. And to keep up with these things, rather than being engulfed in these crisis situations, we have to keep working on these things. It doesn't just happen automatically. It's a process.
It's the mindset change. It's how you talk to yourself in a way, right? If your self-talk is positive and affirming, then your actions and your physical result will be positive and affirming. But if you're constantly telling yourself things that aren't necessarily in your best interest, if your ego is talking a lot, and it's not supporting you, it's not letting the other facets of your life develop because you're stuck in that lower vibration. It's just a matter of, like you said, when you look in the mirror, you can be hard on yourself to a positive degree, or you could be hard on yourself to a detrimental degree.
That's
and
right.
it's the talk that you say to yourself. How are you motivating yourself to be better? Or how are you making yourself potentially less of a, less of your best self, I guess you could say. Like, the self-talk is everything. How you talk to yourself is how you talk to other people, is how you present yourself in the world. And that is just a mindset change, right? It's the idea of self-care and self-love. Like, I love myself. Look in the mirror, you say it, no matter what's going on, I love myself. I'm going to work toward my best self. Constantly saying it to yourself. And it becomes something that in your brain, once you get it established, you can't unwind it. It goes against us as humans. We can't go back and be worse.
It depends how long you do that. I mean, it was one of the topics which I did touch upon, especially when I was bringing the mirror techniques in one of my posts, that we actually condition our mind, wherever it's the society we're living in, wherever it's ourselves, wherever it's our upbringing. We actually condition our mind to certain thought process, to certain ways of living, to certain ways of believing. But at the same time, when our minds can be conditioned by all these different elements, and often they're very negative elements as such, having fear from things, maybe even watching what's going on in the politics, in the world, all these sufferings happening, that they're conditioning our mind and they're creating something. Why cannot we then recondition our mind with positive things? So in the same way we're actually creating our own miseries, we can also create our own joy. And that's what people forget. It's all possible. And we can trick our mind by, as you said, saying it repetitively, talking to ourselves, being kind to ourselves, loving ourselves, and believing in ourselves. And if you do that often enough, our brain will get it. It works ultimately like a computer. I'm not saying we are a computer, but it works like a computer with all these neurons attached, this synapses attached, the current which is attached between these neurons as well, which fires from one to another, our consciousness, which is attached to our body, to our movements, to our muscles, to our veins, to our everything which we actually project, which we think, our memories, our eyesight. Everything is connected to each other with wires and with current, with veins, with blood, with everything what we can think of in terms of a computer, of a software and hardware. And if we put a little tweak inside and keep tweaking it, it will work. It will eventually work.
Definitely work. So here's a hack that works for me, right? And this is something that everybody is already doing, but they're unaware of maybe that they're doing it. Some people probably are, but others aren't. So every day, right, the sun goes up, it comes down, it happens. So we all have to wake up no matter what. We're going to wake up, whether you're going to a job, it's your day off, you're on holiday, you're going to wake up. Doesn't matter what time of the day, you could be a night person, whatever. So when I wake up, the first thought that I have in my head every single day is that it's a beautiful day to be alive. Right then and there, the first thought of the day is a positive thought. It's not a, damn it, I have to wake up, or, gosh, I wish I could just lay in bed. It's, this day is beautiful. I am glad to have woken up. And that happens every day. No matter what, it happens because we're going to have to go to sleep and wake up. So initially at the beginning of the day, I program my brain to be positive. And how do I affirm the positivity is by jumping into a self-care routine first thing in the morning. So essentially we have 24 hours in the day, right? I give myself personally 8 hours a day for me, and that's to do my personal self-care routine in the morning, which includes yoga, meditation, I journal, I basically get into the mode of getting my vibration up high, and then I scatter, 5 to 6 hours throughout the day to sleep. So a third of my day is for me so I can be at a high state of vibration. The other 16 hours are for other people in the sense of helping others also achieve the state of having a high vibration.
Yeah.
So I can't help other people. I can't assist you in a positive way if I'm not feeling positive.
That's right.
So every day I wake up on purpose before the sun comes up to express gratitude because I'm thankful to have an opportunity. And I want to beat the sun coming up, right? The sun comes up every day. So if I could beat that guy, I'll be okay for the day. And it's a daily process. And if I'm in alignment with myself throughout the day, I can help others get in alignment too. But you can't solve a negative problem with a negative mindset. You're not going to get there. You have to have a positive mindset to be able to erase any sort of negative programming, negative habits that you have. So every day in the morning, whatever it might be for whoever it is in the world, you have to have a process that gets you in a positive state of vibration first thing in the morning and not deviate from it. You have to make that a priority. And if you start stacking days and days on top of that, next thing you know, 6 months, you'll be like, oh, wow, this is great. I feel good all the time.
That's another gradual improvement, which you've mentioned, because you start actually looking forward to that. It doesn't become a chore no more. It becomes a lifestyle. And it's just part of the 24 hours process. So the same way we go through these 24 hours, we actually engulf that within these 24 hours, and it becomes timeless. It doesn't become a chore no more. I must admit, one thing I do is I did start yoga for the last 5-6 months I've been doing that continuously now. Sometimes I don't feel well, for instance, in the morning, but that's part of my process, which I feel comfortable, and I do, train that with my clients as well, allow them to do that, is if you put it into your regime, which I absolutely agree, I do look forward to that. It's not a chore for me no more, but sometimes I'm just not feeling well. And, wherever the body is aching, wherever I'm just generally not feeling well. So I allow myself to rest without feeling guilty about it. So you create a state of clear consciousness and allow yourself to be. That is a very important part to have, because sometimes you can't achieve things. It could be anything, it could be emergency, for instance, if you have children, for instance, and your child is ill, you can't do certain things. But it's the guilt which you would have in your mind. That's where you need to eliminate and separate yourself from that and get into a state of mind where you allow things to happen. So there's a bit more room for flexibility rather than just having a regime way of having to do certain things, even though you're enjoying them, but you wouldn't feel bad about it. You don't feel guilty about it. And you say yourself, it's okay. I couldn't do that today. I will do it tomorrow. And I will happily do it tomorrow without even thinking about it. Personally, for me, that works, because then I have no pressure on my mind, whether good or bad, that I feel obligated in doing something.
Right. So like the guilt is the thing that you want to try to avoid, obviously, right? Yeah. We don't want to feel guilty for not doing something. And that goes back to like your mindset. If you are going to, basically do something that you normally wouldn't do, you got to replace it with something else that's positive. So, in your case, I'm not gonna move today. I'm gonna take a rest day. We have to reframe how we perceive rest. Rest is an opportunity to recharge. It's not I'm being lazy or I'm, choosing the easy way out or I'm throwing in the towel. It's like, no, I'm going to recharge myself so I can come back tomorrow and be better. And that is a guilt-free experience, right? We do it for our progression. We do it for the better tomorrow. Right now, that's the step back. That's the 2 steps forward. That's the step back to take it easy, check out what's going on. And it's about like, like I said, rewriting it with something that's still positive, right? It's putting positives on top of each other.
That's right. And substituting negative thoughts with positive thoughts. This guilt-free mindset and being happy with a situation and being okay with that situation is also substituting that from any kind of guilt or panic or anxiety, which may then come because you're feeling bad about it. You wouldn't feel bad about it because you will continue tomorrow. So it's okay. Have your rest day, do what you need to do, and as you said, recharge, regain, and then go back and take over the world again.
It's a daily process, right? Always trying to take over the world. It's always there.
That's right. It's in our hands. So what I wanted to also know is your story is quite interesting. If you could tell us about how it brought you to what you're doing now. How you've grown up. You come from a very vibrant culture, and I told you already, I love that culture because it's kind of, for me, it brings the Western world, Western culture, and the Asian culture, Indian, Asian, both together, and it creates something really beautiful. That's what I think. I mean, personally, that's the best of both worlds, which I see so far. I love, for instance, socializing, being family orientated, all these joyful things, but at the same time, not too confined with restrictions and how you have to behave and how you have to dress in a certain way. All these joyful things are still there, and the independent part from the Western world, and the very, very deep-rooted cultural and family-orientated warm part from the Asian world. So that's what I love in general, which is why I'm drawn to this Latino culture style as such, you know. But yeah, tell me more about your life. I'm sure my audience would love to hear that.
All right. So yeah, I'm residing in California. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and my family is originally from El Salvador. Both my parents were born there. I was born here in the States. They came over in the late 70s, early 80s when there was a lot of turmoil in El Salvador, right? El Salvador, Central America. There's 5 countries in Central America. It's that little piece of land that strips in between Northern America or North America and South America. Mayan descent, very small country, very dense population. And I grew up here my entire life in the United States, here in the Bay Area. So I'm still here. I love it. It's beautiful. There's so many different cultures. It's amazing. You know, I couldn't compare it to another place in the world because it's unique. But for me growing up here and having my parents be from El Salvador, I was always going back during the summer to spend the entirety of my school breaks in El Salvador. So I was able to grow up with an American upbringing. You know, I learned to speak English in school. I was speaking Spanish with my parents, and the television and school taught me English. So when I would go back to El Salvador, I would also get that ancestral feel, that feel of my people, my family, right? Our family's huge in El Salvador. There's a lot of us over there on both sides. But here we were kind of scattered. We were like almost kind of keeping to ourselves. I have a couple close aunts and uncles and cousins, but for the most part, majority of my family is over there. So I would go back and I would, you know, just see how the life is over there. And it's not like in the United States. It's a third world country. Like I was able to see people living differently than how I lived here in the United States. Like I mean, there's so many different things that are available in the United States that still aren't available over there to us. And that gave me a perspective from an early age. I'm like, man, it's something different, something to be aware of. And I realized that the world is actually bigger than what I thought when I was younger. And I've always had that idea of, you know, I wonder how other people are living, right? How are we living like in Asia, you know, for instance, and how we live in Africa, in Australia, you know, in Europe, all over the world. We're all people and we're living in different places, but how are we connected? And I've always been curious about our interconnectivity as humans and as a species. And thank goodness for the internet now. It's been such a blessing to be able to communicate with people left and right. And it's crazy. So that sense of family that you mentioned, and, you know, having a connected sense of people, I've always wanted to connect people all over the world and basically have us all have that sense of joy. But I didn't know how. I didn't know how to do it. Like I didn't have a manual for it. I was still trying to figure out my life and figure out where I was going to go. And, you know, growing up here in the United States is very like structured as far as you go to school, you know, you get a job, you get a family, you start working, you build your 401k, and you start basically becoming a member of the cycle.
Yeah.
And about 2-3 years ago, I had almost like an epiphany moment.
Right.
That really something sparked in my brain to make a change, that if I really want to continue down this life, I'm going to have a common and ordinary life, and I'll just be one of the other people doing things. And I realized like I need to start finding my own way in life to be able to do what I want to do, to be able to get to know people and build community and, you know, understand how we live in different parts of the world. And slowly but surely, I was trying to explore what it is and what it's going to be. And I got to the point of getting fed up with my job as far as, it's just not making me happy.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm good at it. It's fun, but it wasn't fulfilling me, you know, spiritually, as far as, you know, filling my soul with joy. So after some introspection, I realized that what makes me happy is seeing other people happy and genuinely happy, to authentically joyful and exuberant and happy to be alive. So I thought, all right, what can I do to make that happen? Let me go back to school and I'll be a therapist, right? And I was going to go into the process of actually going back to university. And a friend of mine who is into shamanism and spirituality, she told me about hypnotherapy. And, you know, me being an Aries, I'm like, whatever, let's do it. Let me jump in. So I didn't ask any questions. I signed up right away. and I got into the class. It started at the beginning of 2021. And when I did our first class, what shattered everything for me in a positive way and just completely exploded my brain was going through a hypnotherapy session with the instructor. And I was introduced to my higher self. And the higher self is just, it felt like I was meeting somebody that I knew my entire life, but we never met. It's like
Right.
it was just such a surreal experience. And I've never experienced so much joy in my life when that happened. When we made the connection and my higher self presented them to me, and I'm in a state of trance, my eyes are closed, I'm breathing, I'm in my subconscious mind. And as soon as we made that connection, it was like, oh my goodness, there you are. Like, where have you been? It was like we've known each other forever. And I finally was able to see them and embrace them. And the moment I did, like, you know, an absolute, like, just stream of tears come down my face. I felt the biggest relief in my life. And I wasn't crying, sobbing. I wasn't an emotional wreck. It was just physical tears of like releasing whatever block was in me before, whatever block was preventing me from being my best self, whatever block was there stopping me from pursuing my soul purpose, it literally washed away in these tears. Just my shirt was saturated with water, and it was like the faucet was turned on and my eyes were just completely letting it all go. And from that point on, me and my higher self, we've been tight. Like we've been, I feel like it's best friends. We're going through life together. When I close my eyes and I meditate, my higher self is there supporting me all the way through. And that connection that I have with the higher self is something that I want other people to experience. No matter who you are, where you're from, anywhere, age, gender does not matter. We all have that higher self potential in us. And having that experience for me was so profound and such an enlightening thing. I would be selfish to not share that with other people so they can potentially experience it as well. And at this point, what became me wanting to understand different cultures across the world and connect people in different ways turned into me wanting to help people connect to their core, their essence, their souls, which is what we all have in us. That's the commonality. We're all one common conscious. We're all a collective. And we're all a part of a greater collective, right? The universe and all that together. So the higher self helped me become aware of our true interconnectivity that we are a part of, and just the joy, the simple joy that we can have by being aware of who we are, what our place is in the world, and just our uniqueness. Our uniqueness is such a valuable and such a, you know, a profound thing that we all have in us. But we have to love ourselves, right? We have to get to that point. And, you know, through crying and letting it all out, I was able to get rid of those blocks. And I know people out there have blocks, right? Because I had them too. Nobody's perfect. We all have things that we were dealing with. So if I could be of service to people and help them remove those blocks and to have that experience, oh my God, it would be monumental to get people to have an aha moment. So all that said, that's kind of where I'm at now. And that's what I'm looking to accomplish, just one person at a time, one by one. Let's try to get some aha moments going in there where people start radiating more joy and having a higher vibe and better energy. And yeah, that's where it's all at.
That's so lovely said. And you found yourself. I mean, just for the audience, we spoke about that before. You are a natural empath like myself, which is why you're explaining these things with shared joy. Because what is the purpose of a natural, or the actual joy which creates in a natural empath is wanting to be a part of healing for the other person, you know, wanting to be a progression of their life, wanting to be something which is creating this aha moment and creating this shared joy and creating some changes in the other person. That's what brings us joy. That's what brings us healing as such as well. That's what creates so many wonderful elements within ourselves that we want to do more and more and more and just keep progressing about that. But that's such a beautiful You know, that's such a beautiful story of your own life, which you're telling us, which you're sharing with us. And I think it will enrich a lot of people as well, or give a lot of people a sense of hope. That's what we want to do. You know, just don't lose hope that things are possible if you let things in, open up your heart, allow things to happen, allow these emotions to flow, and allow to understand yourself. It's not something which will happen from one day to another. It's a gradual improvement. But if we can be a part as professionals of someone's progress in life and support them and facilitate their way, how beautiful that can be, you know. They're not just helping themselves, but it's helping us as well, because we can just see this, feel this sheer joy in them. And yeah, carry on.
My instructor told me, and this resonated, and it still has, like, when you heal somebody, you heal yourself.
Yeah.
It's something that it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it goes to the point of service to others becomes service to self, you know, and it's true. And I've tried to like wrap my brain around it. Like, so if I help you heal, how do I heal? But since we're all connected, it does serve that purpose in that mode. So why wouldn't us as healers, as empaths, as intuitives, why would we not want to go out there and help people, right? And it's an exponential thing too. For every person that we potentially help, they can go out and help somebody else. And then it turns into an entirety of just, you know, a community of people that feel good about themselves, that want to make others feel good about themselves. And naturally, it'll start attracting more people to that, to the positivity. And that's how we get that collective consciousness to raise up a little bit.
And that is important. To create this collective consciousness can only come from individual people. It can't come from a you know, herd effort as such. It has to come from all these different individual people connecting to each other, the same way how our brain works. One neuron connects to another neuron, and that's how they conjoin and create these signals and support each other in that system. So that's the only way we can do that. I mean, I see that just on my post, for instance, and I wouldn't have thought it would have such a great impact on people, where I see in the comment section when I post something, you don't realize you're posting something about motivation and confidence and all these positive things and psychological facts, how much impact that could have on somebody else's life just by reading, or just by watching your post, just by listening to you. And I receive many times, many people share them if they're not, you know, confident enough as such, their personal experiences, sending me a direct message, how it has actually helped them through a certain situation. And it makes me feel great, actually, because I didn't actually think of, when I was putting out these posts there, that it would have such a profound impact to somebody just by reading or watching my post. But it does seem to do it. And when you then start seeing changes with other people who have actually commented boldly, quite with great courage on my post about their personal changes, about their personal experiences, and then show gratitude to me, not that I need that gratitude, but it's just a recognition that whatever I'm actually putting out there, whatever I'm trying to achieve, it's actually working.
Yeah, definitely. It's such an enriching feeling to see somebody, you know, obviously the appreciation for them to have the courage to put it out there as well, right? This is putting our faces out there. For me, it was difficult. It was hard. I didn't want to do it, but I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Let me do it out there. And then maybe, like you said, somebody else would maybe get some confidence out of it, or they can find a little bit of inspiration. So when those connections start to occur, that's when it's like, oh man, it's working. It's working. And then you start building a little more confidence yourself, and you start going up. And, you know, those connections with people, like the impact that we make on people's lives, it's so profound. And it's such a beautiful thing within itself. It's an amazing feeling. It's like we're both in a kind of in a synchronistic state, right? Oh, cool. I made you feel happy. You're making me feel happy, right? We're healing each other. And then, you know, it's that, yeah, all right, high five. Let's go. let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. And it's a reward in itself. It's amazing, amazing.
Absolutely. It works both ways. And you start even, I mean, I started building friendships, which I would have never thought a few months ago, you know, before joining social media. I would have never thought actually that I could build a friendship just by, I don't know, social media. I
That's just
mean,
being social, right?
that's right. But for me, it was so important in the past to have this human connection, you know, the touch, the feel, the talk, all these face-to-face connections were important for me because I was not aware of the field of social media, how actually profound that could be, how impactful that could be, and how much of the influence that could have on people. Because you know, we have to be realistic. I mean, you and me, we would have never connected as
It's
such, or
true.
generally even talked, exchange about their experiences ever, if that was not the like of social media. I mean, how would that be possible unless we would go to a joint global fair of therapists or coaching? We would have never met.
Exactly, right. And that to me is the beauty of it all, right? It's like, think about it. Like maybe best case scenario at an airport we cross paths, but even then we're not really like there having a conversation.
No.
So this social media thing, it's good in that sense that it connects people that have a completely different perspective. And that's for me, it's awesome, right? I'm here in California in the United States. You're in England. Like our lives are completely different, but yet here we are connecting on the simple fact that we want to help other people feel better about themselves, right? There's nothing that's more positive, I think, than something that happens organically like this. And it's a message from the universe. To me, it confirms the fact that what I'm doing, my goals and my vision are in line with what's best for, myself and also everybody whose lives come in contact with. And it's just it's an amazing feeling. It's hard to explain and put it into words.
It does, and it also depends how you look at it. A lot of people do look at social media in a very negative way, but it's like everything in life. It depends how you manage things. You know, good and bad are all out there, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes I do get quite strong and kind of unnecessary abuse on social media as well, where somebody is maybe, I don't know if they're thinking that I'm out of reach for them, or somebody commented on my books, or why they're aligned spookily the wrong way around. I mean, I didn't know what to comment or respond on this because I found it actually senseless to tell me that. Because if I'm creating a video like this, it's very natural unless I have a high definition camera man in front of me who could put them the right way around, that they would be the wrong way around, you know, naturally,
Yeah.
because we're mirroring ourselves. But all these kind of comments, or somebody would comment on my looks, how they don't like it, but you just have to ignore these kind of negative things and just focus on what your purpose is and all the good things about that, because it brings a lot of connections there. It brings a lot of people together who may come from different perspectives like you and me, but have a mutual connection with not just helping people. I mean, we discovered we're empaths, you know, we have very similar thought process when it comes to helping people, when it comes to healing, when it comes to all this inner self and confidence, and be self-kind and self-loving and self-fulfilling. How would you get to know these people? You wouldn't. You don't necessarily talk to anyone just on the road.
It's
I mean,
true.
absolutely. I mean, I'm quite social in general anyway, but you wouldn't necessarily go into these deep conversation with anybody just on the road you know. So it's a lovely way to do that, and I do like it. I mean, it's very, very nice. I've connected to some people who I wouldn't have thought I would be connecting to. I mean, even some really high profile business people where you would think their mindset might be very different, but then you come to realization, no, they're actually very humble human beings.
Right. You know, we had a discussion in class, a long discussion about this in terms of, the benefits or the difference between social media connections and in-person connections, right? Especially with this past year, it's hard for you to like physically see somebody. You can't see
Yeah.
their face. So you can't tell what type of expression they have. You know, it's hard to get a read on what their vibe and energy is. And it's harder to approach people in person in general, right?
Yeah.
People are more nowadays, I think people are a little more standoffish. They don't want to be approached, or it's difficult for an organic conversation to just generate out of nowhere. Maybe when you're at the coffee shop, you could start having a conversation, but then everybody goes their own way as soon as you check out. But here on social media, it becomes easier to just, hey, how are you? How you doing? I'm having a good day. Let me know if I can help. It becomes, I think, a little more personal because there's an open line of communication that remains there. Whereas
That's right.
opposed to the coffee shop, you have a small window to maybe make an impression with somebody. And even then, most of the time people talk about the weather. They talk
Yeah.
about whatever's going on in the news. It's all superficial stuff. But on social media, it's like straight to the point. What do you like? What are you into? Let's have a discussion. Let's have a dialogue. And you can have it at your own pace, at your own leisure, send text messages back and forth, whatever it might be. And that allows an organic, authentic relationship to develop, as opposed to something where on the street, it might be just maybe a little different, a little weird, not, people got away from that social aspect, I think. And social media might be a good way to use it as a catalyst to bring
Yeah.
it back into our day-to-day lives.
I mean, the good thing with social media, I would say, is, I mean, we're jumping now the subject, but it's all part of what we're talking anyway, is that I found I was able to, and that's where my self-development came in, that I was able to differentiate the feel of a person face to face from having a conversation virtually. Because you focus, as you said, you focus on very, very different things. And sometimes you do get fooled by certain expressions or by certain looks or by certain ways how somebody talks, where your focus is very, very different when you're talking to somebody, even looking at somebody, meeting somebody online, virtually, through social media. It's absolutely different. And you think you're sensing a lot of things in a different way and analyzing things in a different way about that person than you would do on the road. You're absolutely right. You do, because all these senses which are extra there, the feel, the smell, could be anything. They are confined. They're gone. You just have to focus on your vision and on what you hear and what you read, what you see, and that's it. They're very, very confined. They're very restricted, which is why it's a good thing. For me, it worked out well because I could learn to differentiate certain people who I didn't want to be associated with for various reasons to people who I thought they sound really interesting. And that could be in any kind of relationship. That could be in interpersonal relationship. It could be in a business associate. It could be just a follower or fan. It could be any type of relationship. So it made it a lot easier for me not to be distracted by my other senses, which would just add to other things, add to other elements, and then create sometimes between heart and brain analysis, which is then not there no more. So it's nice to have that, and that has shifted my focus back on what I actually want to do, and made me even created a stronger focus for me on focusing on my posts and focusing on the content and how I will connect to certain people.
Well, like we have our guard up when we're in public, like we do naturally, right? When we're in a public area, our guard is up. Like we got to watch out who's around us. But on social media, like you said, we can kind of let our guard down and focus on, more of an experience and more of a connection with people. And by letting our guard down, we become vulnerable, become authentic, and like to your point, like on the post, something that I'm also too, I'm, developing myself is to be able to express more of myself out there on posts, right? It's something I'm not used to, I have to work through. but that's when those connections are made, by just being your authentic self, putting it out there, letting it go. And like you said, you'll get people that resonate. And then at that point, everything starts to work out. And so there's a good side to it. Obviously, a, I think, a lot of benefits to being able to communicate authentically, more so than in the real world where people are so busy about their day, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, as I said, it just brings the focus back to the basics, and you have a very different mindset to that. I mean, it has certainly helped me, and you know, I could focus on certain areas, certain people, certain communities, which would have been a bit more difficult if I just carried on my life how I was before. So it has certain good elements, positive elements for me, and positive change which has brought into that as well. But that's not to say that I still miss the usual way. You know, I'm a key
True.
worker. I have been
Yeah.
working throughout the pandemic as well, because I also work with clients who suffer with brain injuries, have a neurological disorder, and with them, a virtual appointment or virtual meeting is often not possible, because the understanding level of understanding is very different. The level of need is very different in terms of
Right.
rehabilitation. So I did have to go out there, and I did have to see clients. I did have to talk to them, and be present there, just making sure I'm wearing my PPE and things. But at the same time, I think just having little things which I did miss is going out with a friend, having a coffee, just having a little chit chat, nothing else. These kind of things I think are very, very important for our social world, for our social being. We must not just ignore them just because social media is now so prominent, and that's part of humanity again, you know, wanting to connect to people, talk to people. It's just not possible in the same way when we're doing it on social media.
Right.
So we must remember to remain these things, because they're part of our self, they're part of our characteristics, and they need to be maintained. Because if we're looking at so many young people nowadays, most of the time they're only on social media. I can see 5 friends sitting on the bench, and all of them are on their phone. They're not talking to each other, they're talking
Right.
to each other through their phones. And that's something which is then has a negative impact on our social being, where
Hmm.
we actually lose the sense or the ability to connect naturally
Right.
without all this technology. So we must not forget that as well, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's been actually lovely talking. Look, it's over an hour now.
I
Time
didn't
just
even notice.
flew past.
I know, right? We're in flow. We're in flow state. We were just letting it go. So it was cool.
Absolutely, that's how it should be. I mean, in general, you're building your profile up on Instagram mainly at the moment.
Hmm.
And what things have you noticed in terms of, you know, people approaching you on Instagram with your business? How is that going for you?
It's going well. The engagement is up, obviously. Like, you have to tap into the algorithm, obviously, right? You get on Instagram and stuff like that, and you can't post one time and expect to get, like, 10,000 followers. It doesn't happen. But to me, like, I like organically growing the Instagram. Like, I like to personally, like, reach out to people, like the way I reached out to you, like, hey, how are you? Right. And that's how it developed. So I like that social aspect of it all. I don't want to be like an automated machine that
Yeah.
just, picks up 1,000 followers. Like, I don't like that. So the engagement is good because it's me engaging, right? And like, I'm basically, promoting a service that has to do with me and my
Yeah.
abilities to be able to help you. So why am I going to have a third party doing that? Like, that's not how I operate. It's going to be me. If you're going to talk to me through social media, it's going to be, you're talking to me, because I'm going to be the one who's going to care to help you. Right. So it's a lot of that, a lot of, like, organic engagement, just developing relationships with people. And I'm going to start collaborating with people in Australia, to do more of this type of work. So
Yeah.
as of right now, more of my focus has been on establishing like a network of like-minded healers, and just people that want to help others. So once that foundation is pretty much well established, then I can maybe shift the focus a little more toward the client side of it.
Yeah.
but I mean, the clients are still, they still come in, we do what we do. You know, I have programs that I run to be able to assist people in whatever areas they need of life, just overall mindset and wellness. Like,
Yeah.
let's get you stabilized so your mind can be, you know, the middle point between your soul and your body. We got to have all three of them working together. So that's basically where it's all going now. And, you know, little by little, it's going to continue to grow. I'm not expecting to take over the world tomorrow, but, you know, as long as I stay on my process and my
Yeah.
focus, which I do put on Instagram, like every day you're going to see my process in the morning to let you know that I'm consistent with it. I'm going to come, I'm going to show up, and you're going to see what my day is like and how I keep a high vibe, how I stay in that level of, you know, extreme gratitude, extreme joy. You know, you're not going to catch me one day like slipping and not doing
Yeah.
the things that I'm supposed to do. And that alone is what I'm trying to get out. You know, the message to people too is to find your process, do what you got to do, stay focused on yourself and be consistent. Like, don't let yourself down. So it's there, it's coming along, you know, I love the process. I'm more focused on doing my daily habits and my daily tasks and doing what I got to do than anything else at this point.
And I can see the sheer joy in you, and that's what's important. If you want to really excel in something, you need to find the joy in that. You need to believe in that, you know. And as a mind coach, I think for me, what was fulfilling is, and you said that earlier today in our meeting, that once you find actually who you really are, what you really want to do, and you can then collaborate that with a job, with a profession, there can't be anything more content or complete or fulfilling than that, because you're actually creating something which you really believe, which you really enjoy, which you find positive, where you really create an impact, because you put your full passion, your full heart, your full
Exactly.
soul into that, you know. And that's what makes it beautiful. I think once you start doing that, and you're not just taking it as a job, people do pick up on these things. And that's what I can see, the reactions which are coming out of your post as well as mine. The type of reaction. So it's not just about responding or liking your post. It's about what content or what response they're actually putting on your post. That's what is important, and that's what I look at it as well, you know. And it's such a privilege to see that people are actually connecting with your messages, and they're embracing your messages. They're wanting to create a change, or they're wanting to work with you, or they're wanting to just catch something and resonate that and embrace that within their own life.
It's amazing. I don't know. It's hard to continue to like to say the same thing over and over again, as far
Yeah.
as like, it's amazing, it's joyful, but it really is. It's that simple. It's that simple, that all those things that you mentioned can bring you a baseline level of joy. And yeah, it's great. I mean, at this point, you know, it has become my passion, right? I'm super passionate about life in general, you know, and like, I'm even extra passionate about my life. And it's beautiful to just push it along and make it happen. So.
And that's lovely. And one thing what people need to remember is, if you are in a positive state of mind, positive people will be drawn to you. I'm not saying negative people will also be drawn to you, because they have their needs and they want something which you're actually projecting. But at the same time, you will have a lot of positive people connecting with you. And then you just embrace these things. If you have a negative mindset, the only people who will connect to you, and it will not be the other way around, but will only be the negative people. You know,
Right.
somebody who is suffering, somebody who is needy, somebody who wants actually just things from you. Where the other way around, you can have both sides, but a side which is stronger are the positive connections which you're creating. So that is why it's so important to have a positive mindset, because people will feel your energy. They
Right.
would want to have the part of this energy. They would want to be part of that cycle and feel the light, feel the hope, feel the joy. Who doesn't want that, you know?
Exactly. And, you know, even those people that are not necessarily so positive, right? The ones that are in a negative state, to me, those are the ones that I want to help the most.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to go down to a negative state. It's impossible. You can't get that. You can't get me to do that no matter what. But I can get you up. Like the people that are positive, they're already kind of floating up here. I want to help the people that are down there that are looking for just a little bit of positivity to come up. Like, let's get those people to come up and raise their level of joy, right? That would be ideal for me because that's where the greater impact comes in. If
That's
you're
right.
already operating at 85% positivity, you're only about 15% away from being at 100%. I want to work with the people that are down there at 25% positivity, the ones that have, 5 bad days and 2 good days. I want to
Yeah.
flip that around to where you're having 5 good days and 2 bad days. And eventually you're just having good days. And there's a lot more people that are down there at that level
Yeah.
of negativity than there are positivity.
Yeah.
And that right there, that's going to be like the ultimate challenge, is to get as many people that are feeling low vibe, low energy, to get those people to come up. And it's a daily process, right? A daily
Absolutely.
process.
I don't think it's a challenge as much, because when I explained to you about all the responses which I get on my posts, and some of the people embracing and showing appreciation from my post, how much impact it has created in their life, that is actually confirmation enough for me, to see that the things which I'm putting out there are actually working.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever it's my clients, wherever it's a fan base, wherever it's supporters, if they're actually explaining and having the courage of showing the change, and just putting a little response on my post, in showing their gratitude, in showing their how they embrace my messages, that is often enough assurance for me to continue. And I know that I'm going in the right direction, and the way how I'm putting the content out there, it's good for people. It heals, it creates comfort, and that's what you want to do. Because ultimately, we can't take someone out of their misery. They have to be willing to do that. That's the first step. They have to be wanting to do that. We can help them coming out. That's what we can do. We can facilitate their ways.
Yeah, we're only tour guides. We're tour guides to help people get to where they ultimately want to go, right? Help you navigate your way through and see what happens.
Absolutely. Listen, it's been a sheer joy actually talking. I will be posting that on Instagram as well. My posts, especially podcasts, come out every Wednesdays on Instagram and Mondays on LinkedIn. And prior to that, I'll put it on YouTube. And feel free to share it. Feel free to do whatever you want with that. If you need a file, video or audio file, let me know. I can send it over to you. And it would be lovely in collaborating a bit more. And we talked about creating some live videos together as well. And we go from there. Lovely actually talking to you again. And it must be. It must be quite early now, isn't it? Around 11 o'clock?
Yeah, it's 11:23 where I'm at.
So you have the whole day ahead, where my evening is approaching now.
I know, right? But Shafak, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on here. It's been a pleasure. This is like the interaction, it's so natural, right? We just kind of flow and we talk about stuff, and topics are interesting. And more than anything, though, I'm just thank you for giving me an opportunity to be here and be able to express my point of view, and for being a gracious host and having me on your show. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. I love to make my guests feel comfortable, as you can see. And thank you for being my guest. I mean, you've been a lovely, lovely guest, actually. Sheer joy. I had a talk with you before, and I thought there's so many nice things which connect us with each other, spiritually as well. And that's what makes it even more beautiful and better, and I remember you said to me the last time, you feel like I got you.
We're on the same level. We're on the same level.
That's right. And that's what it's about. You want to connect with like-minded people, and then become stronger within yourself to then project that to other people so you can help. That's what it's about. So I wish you a lovely, lovely day, lovely Monday there. And hopefully we speak again soon.
We shall. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
And you as well. Take care.
All right. Later.
Bye bye.